I can already tell our hot season has already started. Ugh, gross. So it is getting to that time of year where I can already tell it's just going to be hot from now on. Gone are our days of really nice weather and just being spoiled with just perfect weather. We're now getting into our hot season, which means my legs are going to be on fire. Because, well, if you noticed, if you ever ridden one of the Pan Americas before, if you've ever test ridden one or maybe you own one, yeah, the bike runs hot. There's just nothing you can do about it. The bike just runs hot. If you wear normal shoes, you can definitely feel that exhaust on your leg, and it gets a little warm. I'm not gonna lie, it gets warm. It's a hot bike. It runs hot. But there are a couple things that you can do to help mitigate that heat and help regulate it. There's a couple of little tricks that I've learned to it. I mean, you can't do much. The bike does run hot. It's just what the bike does. You can't help it. But there are things that you can do. The first thing, and probably the most obvious, and it's kind of like a no-duh moment, is coolant. Keep an eye on the coolant level. The coolant level is, well, it's important. That's what keeps the bike cool. So every 2 years, there's a little wrench emblem that comes up on your dash, and that's connected to a timer. And what that is it telling you that you need to do your fluid maintenance, which is your brake fluid. Got to get that flushed, and you got to get your coolant flushed. And that helps keep the bike cool and help it working properly and all that stuff. But if you had the bike for 2 years and you see it come up, you don't know what it is, that's what that is. It's set on a timer. You have to take it in to get that reset. If you have a cool dealership like me who they trust what I do to my bike, and they trust that I know what I'm doing when I work on the bike to flush it and do all that stuff yourself, they can go in and they'll reset it. I hear there's some issues with the dealership not doing that, but I don't know. That could be a thing, could not be a thing, depending on where you're at. But that's what that little emblem is. It's just time to flush your coolant and your brake lines. But if you don't know where your reservoir is for your coolant level, it's right underneath your radiator. That's not the radiator fill. The radiator fill is behind this shroud that you got to take off. I'm not gonna lie, it is a pain in the butt to get to that thing. But I've never really needed to. There was a quick second where I didn't know why my bike was running so hot, and I took it off to get to it, to burp it and to get all the extra air out of there. So I had to get to it, but I didn't need to. So that was kind of a waste of time on my part. The other thing that you can do, and this is what I found out what was going on with mine when I was running a little hot during the summertime, is, well, keep the radiator clean. The radiator gets clogged up, especially if you like to go and play in dirt and mud. Like stuff just gets flung up in it and just clogs up the fins and doesn't allow air to flow through it correctly. So keeping that washed out, just rinsed out and clean, helps with the heat quite a bit. I don't know why, that's not what I checked first, but anyways, that's what I found out. So learn from my mistake. Keep your radiator clean. Now there's a couple other things that they added onto the bike to help regulate some of the heat on some of the newer models, and that didn't come on the 21 that I've actually retrofitted to this bike. There was a heat deflector from the fan. There's an electric fan on this radiator that turns on around 225 coolant level. It'll turn on and it'll just push the air through, but what it was doing was that fan was blowing right onto my leg. So as soon as that fan kicked on, my leg was just getting cooked from all the hot air that it was pulling through that radiator. So since then, I have added a little deflector that came on the later models. I don't know if you could see it, but this thing right here, it just kind of pushes the air out a little bit. And that's helped with the heat quite a bit. They did add some heat deflectors on the cat on the bottom to kind of help with that. I didn't put that on, and I didn't really feel a need for it. I wear pretty tall boots when I ride, and that definitely helps the heat not cook my leg. But you can definitely tell in the summertime, the bike it just feels hot and warm, and it is. There's a lot of bikes out today. Oh, it's bike night, that's why. It's bike night in Sacramento, and I am not going. I don't know, it's just not my scene, my crowd. There's too many people. If you watched any of my other videos, you know that I don't do well around a lot of people, so meh. No thanks. So that's a couple of things that you can do to just help cool the bike off or keep the bike cool. And then just help it run properly. Keep an eye on your coolant level. You can get little deflectors here and there that kind of help mitigate the heat. Wear taller boots. When it starts to get a bit hotter outside, you're definitely going to see an increase in your coolant temperature. It's just the outside temp and that coolant temperature, it just kind of, it's related. You know, hot air can only cool it so much, so you're just going to see higher temps. Now the fan will kick on at about 225 is when I've seen it kick on, and it'll help bring it down quite a bit pretty quickly. But if it's over 100 degrees out, it's not going to do a whole lot. It'll just kind of stay running, but it'll just keep moving air through that radiator, and that's about all it can do. I did have a bit concerns when my radiator was clogged about how hot the bike was actually getting. When I was doing some dirt riding out in the summertime up in the mountains and it was well over 100 degrees, I was noticing that temp getting well above 230, which I've never seen. However, just because I was concerned about it, because I'd never seen it get that high before, I had questions for my service guy, and they're like, you're gonna know it's a problem because a light will come on. If you're overheating that much and there's an issue, the bike's gonna tell you, which is kind of, it is kind of, but it's glad to know that the bike's gonna know when something's wrong, and it's not just me being paranoid. So there is that. I've seen it all the way up in the 240s, 250s. I don't think it's a problem until around 260. At least that's what I've been told. But like I said, I was going pretty slow, and I was up in the mountains going up and down hills, and it was really hot. So I was probably pushing the bike a little bit more than I should have been, and not moving as quickly as I should have been. Not letting air get through that radiator, you know. I've gotten some questions about how the bike runs so hot, and if I've ever experienced like burning on my leg or anything like that. And me, no, because I always wear my higher boots, and it really helps with that heat problem. So it hasn't been an issue for me. I definitely notice it, and it's definitely there. You know it's hot, but it hasn't been a problem for me so far. Just keep the radiator clean, make sure there's enough coolant in it, and just keep an eye on it. Hasn't been a problem for me, but I always keep an eye on my shit. So, but I figured since it's getting into our hot season here pretty shortly, I'd go over just the heat of the bike. And yeah, you're gonna start to notice that the bike runs a little hot. If you haven't ridden one in the summertime before, the bike gets warm. You can feel it, but the bike will let you know when it's a problem. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps me out a ton. And I will see you guys later. Man, I don't know who's making that. I don't know why it's so hot right now. It's only me. Come on, man.